Hi guys and welcome to this session by Intellipaat. So the topic on our hands today is understanding SQL certification. So there are various kinds of certifications and we'll be talking about all of that in this session, and we'll be talking about what SQL is. But before we get into all of that, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe there so that you never miss an update from us. So without wasting any further time, let's just talk about today's agenda. Today's agenda is sixfold and very straightforward. We'll be starting off with what is SQL. We'll be discussing there what SQL is and what does an SQL developer do, and what his job looks like, so that you understand what you are getting into. From there, we'll talk on about what are the different skills that you need to have as an SQL developer. So if you're looking to become an SQL developer or someone who has proficiency in SQL, and I tell you, this is a very important language to have to, let's say, go across many different career paths that you want, and that's why there is different skills that you need to learn. So we'll be discussing that in the second section. And as I mentioned, that there is a lot of different things that you can do once you learn SQL. So there's a lot of different career paths that you can go ahead, because it is something that a lot of people need to understand in order to do different kinds of jobs. So this is a part of being in that job, but having this certification will help you land that first job, which will enable you to go ahead in your career and learn different things. We'll be talking about the different career paths in the third section. Once we have that in the bag, we'll talk about the different very popular certifications which are there in SQL right now that you can go for. After that, we'll discuss about the job trends and salary of SQL developers and how much they're earning on an average. And from there, we'll talk about how you can go ahead and learn more about SQL and other subjects on the sixth topic on the hand. So that is about the agenda, guys. I hope that is clear to you. So without wasting further time, let's just get into the session. So what is SQL? So most of you would have probably heard about SQL here and there, and things are not very much clear with respect to SQL. So let me shed a little bit of light on that. So SQL is a structured query language, which is the full form of SQL, the structured query language, which is basically a computer language used to manipulate data which is stored, and you can update data, fetch data, and do different kinds of things with respect to the data. So SQL is the standard language for a lot of relational database systems. So a lot of people confuse this SQL with a lot of different things. So let me shed light on that. So there's a lot of different databases which are out there. For example, relational databases. So relational databases are the databases where you have tables and it is in a structured format, right? So if you have data in the structured format where there is rows and columns and data is stored in different kinds of tables, and all the set of the tables make a database. If you have data in that format, then that database is called a relational database, right? So when you have an relational database system which can be created by different people who are involved. For example, there is MySQL, there is MS Access, which also uses SQL. Then there is Oracle database, which hosts SQL. You have Sybase, and you have SQL Server as well. All of these different relational database systems use SQL as a standard database language to retrieve, fetch, and manipulate data, right? So you can have various different kinds of database management systems, but they adopt SQL as their standard language to query and work with that data. Sure, there is a little bit of syntax differences here and there, not much, very much similar across the board, but a few differences here and there. But moreover, everything remains the same. The structure of the language and the syntax almost remain the same, barring a few differences here and there. So that is what SQL is, and that is what it is used for, right? So what does an SQL developer do? So as you can understand, these people are basically involved with fetching and working with the data. So you will be building a database. So this comes from if you reach towards the end of the career, you can look at someone who designs the database systems as well. But for now, just understand that you can build database systems, you can maintain these database systems, you can be responsible for the maintenance of this database, and you could be the one who manipulates the database systems as well. So manipulating the data, finding out different insights and stuff like that, and querying data to retrieve different kinds of results. A very small example would be you write SQL, you use SQL in a lot of different things for fetching data. So let's say if I click on, let's say, get the details about this person, so I basically even my web language is processing a query. It hits my database with a query, right? That I need, let's say, the information of this person whose ID is this, and let's say if I just want the phone number and the address, so the query will have the details with respect to this. So they will find in the query, like, okay, let's check what the ID is, and with that ID, what is the relevant data that you want to retrieve, and they retrieve that and they show it. So you basically send a query to the database, okay, this is the data that I want, and the database sends you back with, okay, this is what we got. And that is the job of an SQL developer that you can think about. So that is what SQL does, and you basically need to maintain, manipulate, and build databases as an SQL developer. And also, apart from that, since you'll be involved with a lot of different people who are in the technical staff and non-technical staff as well, and even the subject matter experts while building a business, so as an SQL developer you will be responsible to talk to a lot of different people, right? For example, if let's say you're working in a company as a business analyst, right, and every business analyst will tell you that SQL is a very important language that you must know, or even for a product analyst as well, you must have the understanding of database systems and SQL. So let's say you're working for these two jobs, right? So a business analyst, as the name suggests, is someone who basically does research and works upon how the business is doing, and he does that with the help of the data that is available to him. So let's say if my consumer, let's say my stakeholder, let's say tomorrow he says that I want to find out how my let's say if we have a car system that we provide cabs everywhere, so I want to find out when is the most requirement of the cars in, let's say, X region. So it's the job of a business analyst to use SQL in that position to structure and query the database in such a way that he retrieves all the information which is relevant to this query, right? So you must find out the time of the day that he is referring to, the region that he is referring to, and with respect to that, what is the amount, the demand, and from there he calculates let's say the demands for all the different times, and then he queries and gets back the result of what the actual numbers are for different regions and which one has the most demand. So that is a very small example of what that you might be doing. But you will, for understanding this problem, you must understand how your database is structured. For that, you must talk to your different people working in tech, and how this data is retrieved and sent to them, and how they are going to use it. So you have to talk to both front end and back end developers. Meanwhile, these are the technical staff who is basically building that. And apart from that, you need to talk to your stakeholders as well, because as a business analyst or a product analyst, you'll be requiring to talk to both the staffs, gathering the requirements and building stuff. So that is very important with respect to that, right? So as an SQL developer, you would be required to talk to both technical and non-technical staff. So understanding of the database is very important. That is what I'm trying to put on with this slide. Okay, let's move along and talk about what are the different skills that you must have as an SQL developer. So this is fairly straightforward. As an SQL developer, you will be working with databases, so it is very important to learn how databases work. So database management comes into the picture, and that is the first point. Second point being software programming. This is mentioned because you will be writing a lot of different queries, and different queries have different kinds of complexities, and how to understand how the query is structured and different things like that. These things can be enhanced if you have the knowledge of software programming, because while programming you write a lot of different code which is similar in some sense to querying a database. It is not that much important, but having that knowledge will help you learn things faster. So a lot of people would recommend having a software programming knowledge pre-hand while learning SQL. Apart from that, server deployment and maintenance is very important, as a lot of the databases would be on different servers, and you'll be responsible for managing that, managing the connections between the server that you have hosted and the different things which are interacting with it is fairly important. And with that, you must have problem solving skills, which is given because your stakeholders or people who are non-technical SMEs will be giving you, let's say, a problem, and you have to understand what the problem is, and then you have to come up with an optimized solution for it and write that and retrieve data. Apart from that, you must learn TSQL, which is basically this is a extension of SQL, which is proprietary of Microsoft and Sybase. So these two companies created this. So this basically helps you add a few more functionalities to your SQL querying, and you can have different features. So every SQL developer almost works with it. So it is very important that you have those in the bag as well. So having those concepts in the bag is fairly important. And apart from that, process enhancement, which is basically to do with how you write the queries. So different things can be, let's say if I have a database, I can query in a way that it takes my database a lot of time to retrieve that data, and I can write, let's say, a very enhanced and very well written code, which will, let's say, if my previous query, this I experienced myself, I had written a query which previously took 40 ms, which is 40 milliseconds to process and get back. But if you're working for any company, that is a garbage code to have. If your code is taking let's say 40 seconds, if it's taking 40 seconds, that's the garbage code to have. So retrieving of any data if it's taking more than 3 seconds, that is too much. So we made some changes and we brought it down to 40 ms. So from 40 seconds to 40 ms, you can bring back the data that you are querying to that amount of time. You can write enhanced queries which will take less time to process and give you faster results. So you have to understand how the database system works so that you can write these queries which are much more optimized, right? So let's move along and talk about the different career paths of an SQL developer. So as a lot of companies would be hiring SQL developers, but they hire them in different capacities, right? So having SQL knowledge is very important, but it is very important across various job roles. It is not the only skill that you will be having. You will be having a lot of different skills, and this will be a part of it. So as an SQL developer, you can be a database administrator, you can be a database developer as well, you could be a data scientist. But being a data scientist is like, a data scientist is a job where it is an umbrella of information. So being a data scientist, SQL is one of the most basic things that you need to have. Apart from that, machine learning, AI algorithms are very much important. You must understand Python and how it works, and a lot of different things goes inside when you want to become a data scientist. So this is a way step in the future of your career path. So you start off, let's say, as a ETL developer, which is extract, transform, load, or a BI developer, which is business intelligence. So these two roles are related to business analyst or product analyst, and these people will be the ones who will be querying and working with the database. So a lot of different companies hire for these positions. So you could be an ETL developer or BI developer or business analyst or a product analyst who is using SQL. And all of these basically are the job roles where you have SQL as a mandatory skill set in the bag if you want to be one of these things. So if your goal is to become any of these, if your goal has to be any of these job roles, if you're looking to land, you must by all means have SQL in the bag. Any job role for, let's say, data analyst or product analyst, business analyst, or majorly any kind of analyst will involve you learning SQL in and out, because you will be responsible with querying the database again and again and again. So that is my recommendation to you. So if you are looking to land any of these jobs, you must know SQL. Let's talk about the various different certifications which are available for SQL. So why should we go for the certifications in the first place? Let me tell you why. So first and foremost, it's the stamp of excellence. Having a certification gives credibility to your knowledge. Let's say every other engineering college it teaches SQL, or every other random institute which is teaching computer science teaches SQL. How do you stand out from the crowd if everybody knows SQL? So A could be showing off your knowledge, right? And you can show off your knowledge based on a certification. You can show that, okay, I went through the certification exam of these institutes like Microsoft or other, which I'm going to talk about later. I went through this, so that shows that I have credibility to my knowledge, that I have passed an exam which is a standard, and I understand databases to some extent, that I would hit the ground running. So companies want to hire certified experts because they don't have to teach them, because they can hit the ground running and they don't have to be taught that much. When you are dealing with let's say a newbie, you'd have to teach them a lot of different things, and they might not be industry ready. Having certification makes you industry ready, and that is a very good thing to have. Other thing that can help you out with is it will give you a substantial pay increase. So this is with respect to any certification that you get. Having certifications will improve your chances of landing a job and landing a better job as well. So not only jobs, but jobs with higher salaries can be expected if you have certifications, because you've proven that you have let's say some kind of an excellence in that domain. So these are the things which are valid for, let's say, any certifications which you will be going through, because it basically, these certifications prepare you enough to hit the ground running for various different companies. And another thing that it does is it's that a certification shows off your knowledge and projects. So while preparing for a certification, you do a lot of different projects. If you join any certification training, they will give you a lot of projects, and these projects can help your resume, right? What do I mean by that? Basically, if you go for any job interviews in the future, any companies that you are working with, they'll be seeing your resume, they'll see whatever your academic background is, and they'll see your skills, and they'll see that there is SQL, and then they'll see you are a certified expert. And if you have mentioned a very good SQL project, the next question, or if you go for any interview, they will ask you a question based on your project, because the projects are the only way to find out how much in depth of a technology that you have gone through. So let's say if I've done let's say an AI project where my object recognizes things. Now, my interviewer can ask about what kind of algorithm I use, what was the complexity, and what in depth was done. So, based on how the project looks like and what are your responses to your question, to their questions, they can assess how much in depth you went with your project and how much understanding you have of one particular technology. And that is what certifications give you. While preparing for certifications, you will increase your knowledge and have that projects in your bag, which will reflect on your resume, which will help you land that better job. So having a certification will give you all these benefits. So what are the certifications that you should go for? So we searched around the web, and these are the 4 certifications which are most sought after in the world right now. So as I mentioned before, SQL can be used across various different RDMS systems, RDBMS, which is Relational Database Management Systems. And these are the examples of that. Microsoft SQL Server Database certification is for MySQL, and then there is IBM DB2 certification. You can go for IBM Certified Database Administrator, or if you are looking to go ahead and get certified with Oracle, you have 2 other certifications, which is Oracle Certified Professional, but this is for people who are a little bit more experienced, and Oracle Database 12c Administrators. These are the 4 certification exams that you are looking to crack. Because again, big names on the screen, because IBM, Microsoft, Oracle, industry giants, and most used databases systems are from IBM, Microsoft, and Oracle. So if you are looking to get certified, try to go for these institutes only, and that will be the best for you. Let's talk about the job trends and salary, because in the time of Corona, we have a few fluctuations here and there, a few layoffs here and there, and this has affected. But mind you, as soon as this is going to end, which is I'm hoping very soon, let's say in next 5-6 months, so there will be huge amounts of openings, because every company will be looking to expand. So every company will be looking for people who work with databases, who can manage databases, who can analyze their database, and they can tell them how they can improve their product or how they can improve upon their sales so that their business can grow. So there will be a lot of requirements, and if you start learning SQL, you can land those jobs in the future, and let's say and get better jobs than you have right now. Or if you don't have, you can get a job. And if you're talking about salary in India as an SQL developer, you are looking at a figure of around 6.6 LPA per year, and in the US you're looking at $72,000 as an annual pay. So that is about how much money you will get, and which companies are hiring right now. So all of the big names are still hiring for a lot of different roles. So big names: Uber, Spotify, Netflix. Spotify and Netflix, I'll tell you, it's a relatively tougher job to land a job there, because these companies are very excellent sought after. You can start small and you can build your resume to reach these companies. So these companies you can reach, and you can see the images are there on the screen. There is Stack Overflow, there is Twitter, there is Instagram, there is Airbnb, there's Quora, there is Microsoft. A lot of different companies, right? So, and a lot of different companies which are not mentioned here are also hiring for SQL developers, because all in the age of the 21st century, we have almost all of the companies as data driven. So they are collecting data in one form or the other, and they are doing different kinds of analytics, and they are trying to maintain that database. That's why there will always be requirement for people who have advanced skills in SQL. So after the pandemic, or during the pandemic as well, you can find a lot of different jobs where the requirement for SQL is must there, and you must have that training in the bag so that you can crack those interviews. So what would be the learning path for SQL? So in my opinion, what you have to go ahead and work with in while learning SQL is get started. If you don't know what it is and what you're looking or you're working with, I'll be discussing that in the next section. But you can go ahead and read some free material which is out there and understand what you're working with, and you can get started with SQL and understand what you're getting into, right? And once you know that, okay, this is something that you're interested in, I would say go ahead and enroll in a certification training program. We have one, which we'll be discussing towards the end of the session. But once you enroll in that, the points that you're looking to learn is SQL architecture. The second milestone would be deploying, configuring, and modifying the data that you have. Then you have to learn SQL database components, which are different components out there. Then you have to learn SQL server tools. After that, you have to do some sample projects where the information that you have learned, you have to apply that to a real-time project. And we at Intellipaat, we provide a lot of different projects so that our learners can get experience, have hands-on experience on it, and they can put them on their resume as well. So once you have all of that in the bag, must do sample projects. Always do a lot of different good projects. And once you have everything in the bag, definitely go for a certification exams. Once you get certified, start applying everywhere. Start applying everywhere that you see, and that will help you get started with your SQL career. And as I mentioned before, we at Intellipaat, we understand and we believe in the fact that an investment in knowledge always pays the best interest. That's why we provide a lot of free content in the form of blogs as well as YouTube tutorials on our YouTube channel. So if you're interested in, let's say, SQL or any other different technologies, or you want to learn about different technologies, about what they are and you want to begin with, you can go ahead and check them out on our YouTube channel. If you are someone who watches tutorials, we post 4, 5, 5, 9, 9, 10, 10, 11 hours of free content online for people to learn and get started with different technologies. And for our readers, we put out a lot of different blogs so that they can go ahead and learn about different things. And moreover, all of this, we provide a community based experience where we have an Intellipaat community, where we have an active set of users who put down their questions and they get answered through the community. They get answered on different things, different technologies. So if you have any questions with respect to any understandings, you can put them out there and our community will be happy to assist you, or even us from the team would be happy to assist you. Apart from that, we have Intellipaat Academy where we offer free courses as well. So if you are going through, if you want to see what the teaching is like, you can go ahead and enroll in our free courses where you can learn about various basics of different technologies for free on our Intellipaat Academy. So with that, come to the end of my presentation. So thank you so much.